While reflecting on some art history and learning more about it, I've noticed that there are many, almost eerie parallels between the past and the present, all the way from ancient times to the 20th century. Of course, these similarities sometimes come with differences in intention. There are all kinds of cultural and historical reasons which make an art piece look like it does. There are things I say that might sound like the inane connections invented by someone with too much time on their hands. And they are, but they sure are fun to talk about. Let's start with the oldest and work our way up to the newest. It seems like humans have always had some kind of fascination with anthropomorphic animals. Furry art and fursuits are very popular to the point where it's almost its own industry. I mean, good lord. It's obvious that furries can be very dedicated to their fandom and their interests. But does this desire go deeper than simply being part of a fandom or catering to some hobby? Let me introduce you to this 40,000-year-old lion man sculpture. This sculpture is the oldest known piece of figurative art ever found. This is at the dawn of human imagination, and the first thing we think of is a fursona. This is ingrained in our psyche. Also, as a side note, we've been obsessed with thickness since the dawn of time as well. What about Egyptian deities? They're furries. A lot of them are furries, and you can't convince me otherwise. You think furries worship anthros now? Imagine treating them like literal gods. Imagine building great monuments to furry characters. You know there were Egyptian rulers who were sitting there thinking about how when they die, they get to meet their daddies in the afterlife. And let's just say that modern furries have already adopted them quite a bit. In fact, I'm convinced that Egyptian gods and goddesses are just waifus for Egyptian rulers. I mean, why would you need thousands of deities?
Everyone wanted a piece of ass, you know what I'm saying?
It just makes sense! Do you think your art has bad perspective? Well, let me introduce you to Mughal Painting. Ooh boy. Now, of course, they did this on purpose, but can you imagine what the guys who painted these were thinking? Hell yeah. I don't have to worry about perspective at all. This is great. Just paint whatever you need to paint to get the idea across. Japanese erotic art is nothing new. Hentai has always been here, except back in the day they called it shunga, and it was usually printed through wood blocks. They even had tentacle versions. I'm not even kidding. Tentacle porn is no longer some weird fetish, it's a tradition. Shunga has functions beyond its aesthetic appeal. Yeah, you got that right. Even Pablo Picasso got his hands on shunga and was apparently inspired by it. Yeah, sure. Speaking of Japanese prints, Vincent van Gogh apparently collected a lot of them and tried to incorporate elements of them into his own work. In other words, he was a massive weeaboo. In fact, it wasn't just Vincent van Gogh. People like Monet and Degas were also massive weeaboos. Japanese art seemed to have a lot of influence on European art. So whenever you see a weeaboo artist, they might just be the next Vincent van Gogh. But I wouldn't bet on it. Dadaists were pretty much the shit posters of their time. When people saw the horrors of World War I, they said to themselves, "Welp, this is terrible," and started making art that pretty much told modern human society to go f*** itself. They rejected logic, rationality, and aesthetics for nonsense. So pretty much current memes. They even had a fondness for irony. Sound familiar? The main goal in each of these is to be absurd and stupid. And trust me, Dadaism is really stupid. But that's okay. Art can be stupid just like anything else. Modification also had its place. Dadaists often crudely cut out images from magazines and such to create these weird collages. Kind of like the endless remixes the internet can generate from one image. Memes are pretty much contemporary Dadaism, and we may have already surpassed the strangeness of the first movement. I guess this is all just a reminder that we are all part of the same disgusting, terrible, weird species. Sure, there will be differences among us, but there is patterns of behavior that even through the inevitable passage of time, still marches on. Anyway, my name is Solar Sands, and goodbye.